Oh, it's time for a little bit of Mayday. Hello, welcome in. I'm your host, Trevor May. This is Mayday, a show about the show, and we are going to talk about a bunch of baseball stuff today for the next hour here on Foul Territory. Guys, if you don't subscribe to the Foul Territory Network here on YouTube yet, I don't know how you're here, but also you should. Thank you. Also, my channel, Trevor May Baseball, hosts a Friday version of the show, so if you want more, noon on Friday, Pacific time that is, over there at Trevor May Baseball as well. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk to you about today. One, The Athletic puts out a yearly poll getting the temperature on how fans are feeling about the state of the game, and there were some hot takes in the results this year. We also have a WBC preview. We got news to talk about where we have a second suspension for another gentleman, for a gentleman who has been suspended before. And finally, there are new stats that I'm going to be watching pretty closely this season, and maybe even some of my own. Some stats that you may be really excited about as I am, or you may hate them. All coming up right here on Mayday. We're going to pop right into our first subject for the day, the polls. The polls are in. A few weeks ago, Stephen J. Nesbitt, wonderful name, by the way. Steven's great. Of The Athletic put out a series of polls to fans to gauge how they feel about myriad heated debates surrounding the game currently. These are done every single year. He's going to harken back to a lot of them that were done the offseason between 22 and 23 when there was a lockout, so we can compare and contrast where we're at as we move forward to the very likely heated the debates going on around the next CBA. I had a lot of these questions. I wanted to run some of these polls myself because, frankly, you know, sometimes it's hard to figure out what everyone as a whole feels about any single issue because of the way that things are presented to people. So if I asked on a YouTube channel video, or I asked here on the show, or asked whatever, it's only going to be a small subset. And whatever process I was going to use, it was going to have to be algorithmic. And so I'm glad someone else did it who knows how to do these things a little bit better. So these are going to be much more accurate. There was over 14,000 respondees, which is quite a big sample size. We love sample sizes here. Just for reference, most like political polls are like 1,000 people. So this is pretty good. Shout out to everyone who actually answered the poll. I was one who did it too. So my answers are also in these. All right. There were three main categories, and I want to hit these points because some of this stuff surprised the crap out of me, and some of it was part of the course, and I want to give a little bit of context as we move through them. But, you know, as we know, polls are always fun. Polls are always fun to go over. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with economics, all right? This is what the fans think, and it didn't go in the economics. The economics didn't go first in the articles, but you should read them regardless. Economics was the one I'm interested in because first, obviously, that's the CBA talk. So I want to know how people are feeling. I want to know what's going on, and I want to know if I'm doing my job of explaining these things well enough, because that is also something that I constantly need to be making sure I pay attention to. So, you know, it's not all just selfless. It's just sometimes I need to do something for myself. So, first question that was asked: are you in favor of a salary cap system with a cap and floor in MLB? 68% of people said yes, and 27% said no. No opinion said 5%. In my notes, I said, oh, come on, guys. Didn't we talk about this? But yeah, that was my initial reaction. I just want to, there's a caveat with this thing. So now, this wasn't super surprising with the super majority of people being in favor of a salary cap, but I don't think it's as directly correlated with the cap floor system itself, more so with wanting something to be done. It's the acknowledgement that something's broken. So it is a loaded question. It only gives this one solution to the problem. So everyone agrees that there is a problem, but when you only say, okay, do you agree with this solution to that problem? Like, there's just a lot of people who are like, yeah, you know, it could be a solution. Just do something. That's mostly probably what is going into the 68% number. So I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt here. Like, not everyone's like, we need this specific, we need it to be exactly like the NFL. But they are saying, you know, the Dodgers can't just run away spend like this. Like this, something has to be done to put to reduce or create, de-incentivize just doing it forever just because you can. Like, that should not exist in sports, and I agree 100% wholeheartily with that sentiment, and I think that's what's being reflected here. You know, I could be projecting hope, but I hope that we all know enough about this thing. I trust human beings to one given good information to make good decisions. That's how I think. Like, just as long as everyone knows what's going on and you still feel one way or the other, that's it's the best we can do. I think that's a noble pursuit. All right, question number 2. The blame for the payroll disparity between small market and big market teams belongs to mostly the owners, 57%, but there's 36% think it's also the players' fault. Now, that one kind of got me a little bit, and it makes sense. You know, it makes sense because how are these decisions made? Prices go up, and they go up because they need to cover costs, theoretically. Theoretically. Now, we don't know what that means in real time, because there's a lot of ways. It's not that simple most times. Actually, it just simply isn't that simple. But players are the biggest expense, by far, the biggest expense the team has. So if player salaries go up, it is logical to assume that is causing all the prices on the fans to also go up. And it is more or less true, but it's not a chicken or the egg situation. We know which thing is the egg, and the egg is the revenues. Okay, when revenues go up, player salaries then follow, not the other way around. And that is an important distinction to make. So I just want to be very clear here. But I want to also say that I also fully understand to listen to the like where the blame goes for a person that is just has a more normal 9-to-5 job and is struggling to pay for certain bills, and is just your normal median household. Like, it's icky. It feels gross to feel like, oh, I'm not going to blame the people being paid millions and millions and millions of dollars for my tickets going to $80 a piece. Like, I think that's completely valid. I think that argument makes a lot of sense. And the revenue that they provide does pay for the players, but we got to remember that the revenue is made first. Like, that's how it started, and then it's always been lagging in that way. So if revenues for the whole league goes up, players are going to see that and say, okay, what's our percentage of the revenues? But, you know, you got to do, if you want to do revenue sharing, that's one way to cover it. But, you know, that has its own issues. So, but remember, when we're talking about both sides, just do a thought experiment for me. Just anyone who feels really strongly in the both area, do this thought experiment. If players today, all of them said, okay, we all just agreed, they all just agreed, I'm not a player anymore. They all agree. Top cap, most a player can make is $500,000, and salary numbers go way down, and immediately the owners get all of that money. Do you think that prices are going to be proportionally dropped from there? Okay. Well, I hope you answered that question honestly, because they won't. They'll drop them a little bit, because you can't just not drop them at all, because that'll hurt you more than it won't. But, like, they're not going to drop it the amount that they would save. That's for sure. They would definitely find a way to keep some of that in their own pockets. That is the way that this works. So, like, always remember that. It's kind of hard to be both sides when one side, that's the way that they run. That's how businesses are run. So I'm just throwing that out there, being obviously playing devil's advocate, because that's all I do. All right, moving forward. Do you think MLB will miss games because of a lockout in 2027? 77% of people say yes. That's a big red alert, and this is a red alert to, I think, the PR of the game and the game of baseball, and Rob Manfred probably should be very much paying attention to this, is people are certain that there will be games missed in 2027. Now remember, just if there's a lockout, that doesn't mean that games are going to miss automatically. A lockout would probably happen the moment the World Series is over, and then there's the whole offseason. So this would be 4 months of negotiation under lockout where games wouldn't be missed. We avoided it last time with 2022, though it got close. It came down to the deadline, and remember the vote went around, and then the players got kind of blindsided with the number of teams that voted yes to start the season. But I myself, I'm not as confident that games will be missed because that is the highest leverage for both sides. No one wants to miss out on a paycheck or revenues, and missing games could hurt the game so much that is not worth doing. So, but you got to have the threat of that as leverage to get a deal done. I am confident, or I'm hopeful that is what happens. But do I think there's going to be a lockout? I think 100%. I think that offseason is going to be a lockout offseason, and there's going to be very little to talk about outside of this stuff, which sucks. I'm not happy about it. We're going to be getting pretty creative here on Mayday. I'll tell you that much. So, but if I'm looking at this as the leadership for both sides, we got to be very careful and smart about this and make sure that fans are we need to think about them. Keep thinking about the fans and what it means to them, okay? All right, and don't just try to be like, come over here, come over to my side. Literally be like, hey, at the end of the day, we do this for you. It needs to be, at the end, wherever we come out, it needs to still be a good product on the field, all right? To what degree would losing games due to lockout negatively impact your fandom? Significantly, only 20%. So that's where this hope comes from, right? I think if we can avoid missing games, this number would even go down more. But even if games are missed, it might not be catastrophic, but this 47%, not so great. Honestly, the not at all being 33%, much higher than I thought it would be. This is a little bit more balanced than I thought it would be. Not good by any means, but better than I anticipated. So there's a lot more understanding. Baseball fans are pretty smart, and you guys get it, and you guys are pretty plugged in, and you get complexity pretty well because you watch baseball. Baseball can get complicated very quickly. Look at this show. So this is a testament to how smart baseball fans are. Man, I am buttering you guys up. And but at the same time, that number's probably still too high. We got to make sure that no games are missed so that we can keep keep it going the way that it's going. So this is a quote from one of the fans polled, which I thought was pretty telling. How the potential lockout and missing games impact my fandom is wholly dependent on how the lockout is resolved. Everything I just mentioned. If we miss games but competitive balance issues get fixed, hopefully with massive salary floor and reasonable salary cap, sacrificing game is worth it. Now, reasonable salary cap and massive salary floor will not fix the competitive balance issue. So I hate to tell you, AJ, that is not going to get you the outcome. It's still going to be a problem. And it's going to be a problem in a different way that affects more teams. So unfortunately, but if there is a good resolution, then missing games is worth it. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And that understanding could be very helpful for getting a good deal done in the long term. So some of this stuff is par for the course. The number of people who are certain that there's a lockout coming, that was much higher than I thought it would be, and kind of blew me away. But I mean, we're in trouble if this thing goes too long. Is basically my takeaway. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the state of the game. This was another section talked about. State of the game, how the fans feel about the state of the game. Which of the following best describes your feelings of the current overall state of the MLB? Of MLB. 21% are enthusiastic and 46% are hopeful. That is a really good number. That is 67%. That is more than 2/3. Actually, exactly 2/3 of people are enthusiastic or hopeful. And disappointment is under 18%. This is even more crazy considering where it was in the offseason. In the offseason going into 2022. Now, got to remember, the last time or the 2022 survey was taken literally during a lockout, towards the end of it where things were getting dicey. We were getting really close to the missing games point. Actually, I think we had just gotten to that level when they did this poll. So that's a big caveat. That is peak attention. So of course these numbers are going to reflect, but this is how it's improved. In that poll, in 2022, it was enthusiastic was 2.8%. So we 10x that. Hopeful was 24.8%. So we've doubled that. So those two numbers have drastically increased since the last time we had a lockout. That is a lot of goodwill that you'd be sacrificing. So I hope we don't do it. Indifference was at 9.4%. It's about the same as it is now. Disappointment was at 51%. 51.6%. Over half people were disappointed and 11% were upset. So, I mean, much better. Much better. This could get destroyed in one fell swoop if games are missed. So we need to not waste the fans' goodwill, because the fans are overall liking what they're seeing, enjoying the game in a way that they hadn't in a while. That is a really good thing. Now, it's changed a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and some of the things that people are sad have gone away. But I think there's also ways to get that stuff back too. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. The next one, how would you rate Rob Manfred has done as an MLB commissioner? 42% give him a fine. He's fine. Average. A number one's being bad, and a number 5 being good. 5, only 2% of people are ecstatic with how he's done. I'll be honest, that's higher than I thought it would be, just because of sentiment. I mean, I don't think he's done a 5 either. I would probably put him between a 3 and a 4, because I don't like a lot of things that Rob does. He's not the best. He's not the best at communicating things. He gets very legal jargon and very kind of like, he feels flippant sometimes about things that people really care about, or trying to make it seem not like such a big deal, but he's just not that good at it. That kind of stuff, whatever. Not everyone has these skills and is really good at this stuff. Now, in his job, he probably should be, but he's not. It's okay. That's fine. It's whatever. But other than that, some of the changes, some of the things he's really tried to champion have worked. I'll say it. They're working. Pitch clock's working, for the most part. There's a couple clunker stuff that isn't working, but when things don't work, they change it, generally. I think that they're getting more calls right. I think the umpiring's getting better. I think that they're taking chances with the broadcasts and putting them in different places and doing different formats. I don't know. They're being, I'm a creative person. I like creativeness. They seem open to that, and he has pushed for that. So got to give a little bit of credit. Now, there's other things that haven't gone well, but I would give him a 3.5. But I just think that, it's just like every other commissioner. Does anyone like Goodell or Silver? No. So there's a little bit of if you're a fan of a sport, you're not supposed to like the commissioner. That's going on. But for him to be whatever, it's just the commissioner, that makes a lot of sense to me. I tend to give him just slightly more credit, but I'm also in paying a lot of attention to every little thing he says. So I bet you didn't see that coming. That wasn't on your bingo card for today. So I thought it was fascinating. But we have some numbers on how this went last time for him. During the 22 lockout, 77% of respondents rated Manfred's performance a 1 or a 2. So he's also got some points. He's moved back up into the 3. He's also receiving fewer 4s and 5s in 2016 than he did in 2023. So it's weird. Everything's moved kind of towards the middle. I don't know if that's good or not, but it is. I guess it is. Maybe that's a slightly positive. It's kind of average. Anyway, moving on. Dodgers, back-to-back champs. Good or bad for baseball? 52% say bad, 32% say good, and 16%, oh my God, who cares? Sorry, they say no opinion. In a poll conducted before the World Series, 28.4% of the participants said the Dodgers were good for baseball. Now it's 32%. So the number's getting up. It looks like our My Player propaganda might be helping. No? All right. The Dodgers won the World Series, and now it's up even more. I get it. It's the runaway spending. It's a bad look. And this is bad vibes. If we're going off bad vibes, I'll throw bad 52%. I do think having a heel is a positive thing. That's what That's what Stephen C. said here in the piece. He said, I think Dodgers are good for baseball because having a heel is fun. Having a team that everybody hates collectively, we all hate them together. And now, like, Diamondbacks fans and Giants fans should be looking around and be like, yeah, guys. And then Padres fans, come on, guys. We all hate them. Like, that's fun. I like there being a villain. A villain is good for sport in general. That was what was so nice about the 90s and aughts and ESPN. There was always, like, a villain in every sport. And I love it when there's a villain. I think it's a positive thing. Now, how they're becoming the villain needs to be adjusted. But I think that if there are ways to rein in the spending and make sure that that stuff is taken care of and that it's a more even playing field, that they will continue to be the heel. That's where the heel is the best situation. So I think having a heel and everyone wanting them to lose and everyone gunning for them and you're always looking behind you, it just makes it so much harder to be in the top and stay on the top. I think that's just generally a net good thing, but that probably is why those numbers are shifting, though I think the no should be a little bit lower, but maybe more even. But maybe bad should be just a little bit above good. I think that come on. All they gotta say is come on. But then again, I think the Kyle Tucker thing probably just switched it back and just made it so it's so glaring, it's so in our face, the spending that we need to take it down a notch. Now let's talk a little bit about maybe some betting, because betting has become a big part of the game too. Is betting on baseball a regular part of your fan experience? This blew me away because I thought this would be like 30%. But then I realized that the average age of the baseball viewer is usually a little bit older than other sports, and a little bit older people tend to be adults and not just go head first into gambling, because that's just something that is not a very sustainable thing to do if you do it all of the time. That's all I'm saying. So for this number to be this low is interesting, but you know, it's one of those things that just like everything else, like chocolate, it's fun. It's fun. It's a dopamine rush. You know, I enjoy it from time to time, playing games and such. But I thought this number would be way higher. Just generally based on the people that I talk to and the people that are around my age, it is more of a part of their game. But then again, maybe baseball's not the sport they do it in as much. So if anything, this was a little bit positive for me, just knowing that like it's not because you know there's been people dealing with DMs on social media, and you know the more people that do it, the more often that's going to happen. So a little bit smaller of a number than I thought it would be, and then. The next question, with the prevalence of gambling in baseball, you're worried about the integrity of the game. This is concerning. 77% of people say yes, they are concerned, worried about the integrity of the game. Now, remember, we have an ongoing investigation of Emmanuel Clase and Luis L. Ortiz. Like they have been allegedly we're throwing or we're fixing small outcomes to do micro betting around their pitching. The number of times specifically that Emmanuel Clase has done, it has been reported that they're finding more and more times these things happen. That probably is what is affecting this number as much because that's a scandal, right? The NBA would probably have something very similar, maybe even higher, because they've had some pretty big scandals. So that being recency bias in that is going to cause this number to go up. But that said, that's still a really high number, and that's something that needs to be addressed like meaningfully. I think, because at the end of the day, if no one trusts that what's happening in front of them is fair, I don't know how you come back from that. Trust is such an important part of everything, but especially sports. And it would be heartbreaking to see that continue to erode away at people's trust of the game being played fairly and everyone having an equal chance to win it. So if we want competitive balance, this is something we got to pay attention to. Okay, last section is the fan experience. Let's talk a little bit about how people are feeling about their experience at a ball game. And this is also very telling too, and was pretty surprising in a lot of ways. The first question was, how does your enjoyment of consuming baseball now compare to 10 years ago? 5 being more, 1 being less, and most people are like, it's about average. But I think that there's still a pretty high 24% of less is not great. It feels like 25 and 19 and 15 and 9 it's holding about steady for these people, right? Like they're like, I'm getting used to it. It's different, but it's not really affecting it one way or the other. And we've been trying to improve it from 10 years ago. So maybe some of this stuff's working. Maybe this is a slight indicator that things are working, and that is a positive thing. But I feel like some of these people's concerns maybe could be addressed a little bit more. There were some people out here talking about specifically what they don't like. Like the most common answer was a 4, but only 14.6% responded with a 1 or 2 back in 2023. So like those numbers have gone up, right? Those numbers have gone up, and that is a positive thing. And 6% of fans say their enjoyment of the sport has either remained steady or gotten better. That's a pretty good number. Probably be a little bit better, something worth paying attention to, but not overly concerning. But then there's some other trends that are just interesting to me as a person who creates content, but also like a person who also has changed how they watch baseball as well, which I think is awesome. These are really cool. I think this is going to give us a good idea of what changes might be great, and you guys might actually get from how the game is consumed. Where do you frequently follow MLB action? MLB TV is my number one thing too. Having everything in one place is really important, especially because there's 10,000 streaming platforms and different places to watch things. It's so confusing that having something that's less confusing is easier. Now, I have a media access, so I don't get blacked out from games, which is awesome. And I can't imagine what it is like to get blacked out from games. That would I can't tell you how frustrated I would be. But just seeing that cable TV has dropped considerably as of late. It used to be MLB TV was 31% last time they did this. It's 48% now. Oh, actually, I take that back. They follow MLB action on cable TV. Okay, cable TV used to be 47%. Now it's 29%. So it's dropped that much in 3 years. And then other streaming, we have the app, people just follow along. Social media, radio, YouTube, like just highlights. That's the young fans. These are the young fans. I get these too. That is just like checking the scores, which I think that's probably been 6% forever. And then these be a change in it. And MLB TV, especially with how the rights have changed, has become the number one place to go. But with that happening, that might point us in where we need to go. Rob Manfred has talked publicly about wanting to bring everything under the same umbrella, bring all the rights to all the teams, and then do revenue sharing from there. Honestly, that happening would make the cap thing work better. But it would also solve the uncertainty of revenue that is the reason that most of the owners want the cap. So now we don't have that argument anymore. So like it's, which one do you want? And obviously the big teams have their own networks. They make tons of money off them, and the small teams don't. So it would benefit small teams more. Big teams are like, whoa, why do we have to do that? They already do enough of that stuff, they feel like. So that's where the headbutting comes from. But maybe, just maybe, bringing everything into an umbrella situation is the best way forward. It probably is long term. I'm just going to say it. So, are you regularly impacted by blackouts in MLB games? Oh my God, 40% of people get blacked out. That is so high. That is too damn high. So if 40% of people can't watch their local games, you have a problem. And I get it. Exclusivity is very important to TV, to streamers. Like being the only one carrying things is important. But when there's this many different things that want exclusivity, God, I did it right the first time. I couldn't get it the second time. Then it becomes moot. It becomes not exclusive. It becomes confusing. It becomes like, oh, we're the only ones with it. Okay, good luck telling everyone independently where it is, because it's very hard to do. That needs to be cleaned up very obviously. And fans, this is one of the biggest things they hate. Right, guys? You all hate this. Everyone hates this. I hate it. I'm not affected by it. It drives me crazy because I want to watch a game and I want other people to be able to watch a game and I want to watch a game with people, and then we're getting blocked out. It sucks. It sucks. So maybe if we bring everything under the umbrella, we can get rid of that, or at least make it a little bit easier. And then the last question I want to cover is, how many games did you attend last year? 26% of people, 3,000 people said no, none. Over half were 1 to 5. And the general sentiment is the game's just too expensive to go to a lot. And that's how everything is now. It's just too expensive. The tickets are too expensive. The food's too expensive. Everything's too expensive. And there was a lot of people saying how the game's too loud and you can't talk to your family when you're sitting there. You can't take in the game. But you got to remember, we live in an attention economy. Energy and speed is the name of the game. More people like that than don't. The days of going to a baseball game and having it feel like you're going to a local park and sitting there and just people watching, except instead of them just walking around, walking with their dogs and blowing bubbles and stuff, they're playing baseball. That doesn't exist. That's the minors. Barely. Because we have a pitch clock, the game's 2.5 hours long no matter what, no matter how long you hope it is. I go to Mariners games up here, guys. They're pitching so good, they give a 1 run every game. The game's literally 2 hours and 10 minutes every single time. If I'm not there from the opening pitch sitting down, I'm not gonna be able to watch it until the 4th inning because it's just the 4th every single time because they're pitching so good. So like people want to take their kids, they want to make it worth it. There's this difference between how much it costs to go and how long you get to be there. It's like, people liken it to like, would you pay this much money to go to a movie? Even though movies are getting up there, not quite, for just a 2-hour experience. Baseball used to be an all-day event, not what else can we do today now the game's over in 5 minutes. That's what those people with 0 and people with 1 to 5 are saying. And I tend to agree with that a little bit. So maybe there's something to be done there. But I want to know what you guys think. Who at home, did you guys participate in this conversation? Did you reply to the poll? Let me know in the comments or in the chat, and I want to hear what you have to say. But all very fascinating. Hopefully, these were some positive indicators of the game changing, and hopefully we can avoid the other bad stuff with the lack of a lockout. Hopefully, I hope. All right. We are going to move on. Moving forward, before we do that, though, I have a sponsor. This week's sponsor, as we go through the news and into our WBC coverage, is Fox 1. From the WBC through the World Series to the World Cup to NASCAR and IndyCar, with Fox 1, you'll get it all live. Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Download Fox 1 today and stream the World Baseball Classic live March 6th through 14th. Go to fox1.com for complete terms and conditions. Fox 1, streaming right now. Like that, time that like crazy. So yeah, go check out Fox 1, and we will be talking about the WBC, and they are sponsoring that segment here on Foul Territory throughout the WBC. So thank you, Fox 1. Let's move on to a little bit of housekeeping, then we're gonna get into the news, all right? Boom. All right, moving on. Remember, I am TrevorMay.com. You can support everything we do here at Mayday, either with a free subscription to the newsletter to keep you updated on everything we're making here. There's gonna be a second possible newsletter that is stats-based. You'll see at the end of the show what I'm talking about, what might be there. So that might be available, also always free, or you can support monetarily, which we appreciate a lot. We try not to read a ton of ads here, especially in the video side on YouTube. If you guys see our videos, you notice that there's never an ad read. People subscribing and supporting us here on IamTrevorMay.com is one of the ways that we are able to do that. And you get 2 or more bonus videos a month. So if that's interesting to you, go over there, throw a support, or just get the free newsletter. It's great. And then also, if you ever miss a show in the future, make sure you subscribe to @MoreMayday. That is our highlight show from this show. So all of the videos will be there. So if you're not subscribed to that, what are you doing? You will never miss anything we ever make if you are subscribed to More Mayday. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's get into the news. The news of the day. There was some big stuff happening. There was some little stuff happening, but all of it is going to get covered right now. Okay, story number one. Juristen Profar, the gentleman who was suspended for 80 games for taking a performance-enhancing substance and testing positive for it last year, has now been suspended for 162 games for testing positive for a performance-enhancing substance for the second time in the past year. That is a full year suspension, no pay, no eligibility for the playoffs, no eligibility for the WBC, which he was going to be playing for the Netherlands. He tested positive for exogenous testosterone and its metabolites, the league said, adding that the suspension would take effect on Friday. Profar is just the sixth player since 2014 when the new rules were put in place for PED offenders. The sixth guy to get a second suspension. With the loss of Profar, now another significant blow to the Braves, who already lost Spencer Schwellenbach and Hurston Waldrop to elbow injuries when they try to rebound from being 10 games under 500. So this is a big hit for them. But I got to say, man, like, he reportedly said, I would never knowingly take anything, but hey, man, fool me once, fool on you. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. That's all I got to say. Like, come on. Come on. Like, it's somehow, whatever. Somehow, and I don't know, I must have been the luckiest person on the planet. Somehow I played 16 professional baseball years and did not get suspended for PEDs. I don't know how I did it. It must have been magic. Take some responsibility for your life. That's all I'm saying. Just stop cheating. It's so annoying. Stop with your cheating. I don't want to hear about it anymore. It's so annoying. Just do what everyone else does. Okay, moving forward. Cardinals signed Oliver Marmol to a 2-year, that is manager Ollie Marmol, to a 2-year contract extension. The Cardinals have signed their manager, re-signed him. The 39-year-old is 325 and 323 in 4 seasons. St. Louis, the Cardinals have missed the playoffs for 3 consecutive seasons, going 78 and 84 in 2025 while finishing 4th in NL Central. They got their man. As we know at the Cardinals, it is like a slow-moving glacier. And they know their path, they know where they're going, and they plan into the future, and they slowly implement things. And he is the man that they want at the helm as they do it. So I will give the St. Louis Cardinals organization a lot of credit because they've always had this approach to things. Let's see it through. Let's see what happens. Let's be patient when we make decisions. And it's not chaos there. If anything, it's a little slow sometimes, but they're transitioning into Kyle Bloom, making personnel decisions, and they want him to be there, a young guy who understands the process. So they hope that this thing will pay dividends in the near future, and I got to respect that. And in a time where managers and long-term longevity is getting harder and harder to do, Marmol is the 3rd longest tenured manager in the NL behind Dodgers Dave Roberts and the Diamondbacks Torey Lovullo. That is insane. That's a crazy stat. He is the 3rd longest tenured in the league. Whoa. All right. Next up, Jason Benetti. You guys may know him from the Tigers broadcast, formerly of the Chicago White Sox broadcast, and one of the most beloved play-by-play commentators in the major leagues. Jason Benetti, he has been tasked with handling play-by-play for NBC's brand new Sunday Night Baseball primetime package. I am pumped. Jason Benetti is one of my favorite broadcasters. He genuinely loves baseball. No matter what the score is for his home team, he, till the last out, is always talking about a path to come back and win the game or a path to something more positive. It's awesome. He's like, all I need to do is get these guys on base to do this thing. And I always appreciated it. I understand that it can be annoying. You just want him to feel bad with you, but he is one of the best commentators out there. I really enjoy him, and I'm so happy for him that he's getting this opportunity. He will debut on opening day on Thursday, March 26th, when the Diamondbacks visit the Dodgers to open the season on the day's only primetime game. He'll be paired with local analysts who have ties to each team during the broadcast instead of having a regular national analyst. That's pretty cool, too. Last month, NBC Sports announced that recently retired MLB stars Clayton Kershaw, Anthony Rizzo, and Joey Votto will work in the studio for NBC's postseason coverage and select regular season broadcasts. Man, sounds like one ex-player is missing from that group. AJ Brzezinski. All right, moving on. One other cool story. Elon baseball and softball throws a perfect game and a no-hitter on the same day. Now, not to be confused with the owner of X, the Everything app. Elon is a college in Phoenix who had two of the best days ever for both of their women's and their men's ball throwing sports. So on Saturday, Elon University Phoenix baseball and softball teams each pulled off some incredible pitching feats. First, softball teams Anna Dew completed a 6-inning, 6-strikeout, 79-pitch perfect game against Charleston Southern. Woo! That is a Maddox if I've ever heard one. Beautiful. Great job, Anna. And then later in the day, Elon Baseball's Aiden Stieglitz, these names, Aiden Stieglitz, Mike Stiano, and RJ Lekowski combined for their no-hitter against Fairfield. Wow. And I, for one, know a bunch of actually players from Fairfield, so sorry guys, sometimes you run into some studs. So congratulations, Elon. Wow, what a fun way, what a fun day of baseball/softball. All right, and that is the news. We're gonna get right into our World Baseball Classic preview. Let's just get into her. World Baseball Classic is here. I do need to do one thing. I gotta turn that on and then this off. This segment is sponsored by Fox One. Use the QR code to get your own and watch the WBC. All right, we're going to talk about the World Baseball Classic and give you a little bit of a preview on how the thing works, who's playing who, what to look for, and what I'm most excited about. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, the World Baseball Classic is an international baseball tournament sanctioned by the quote World Baseball Softball Confederation. That is the WBC. It is one of the two primary international senior baseball tournaments alongside the Premier 12, but is the only tournament where the winner is granted the title of world champion. If you remember, Premier 12 is the tournament that Rich Hill pitched in for with a lot of the young college age and low minor league guys prospects over in Japan this past year. So another cool tournament. But the World Baseball Classic is the only one with world champion in it. Since 2006, the first year it came out, Japan has won in 6, 9, and 23, as we remember the last winner. Dominican Republic won it in 2013, and the United States won in 2023, have both won once. So the 5 winners, the Japan team has won 3 of the 5. So they are probably the number 1 ranked team, though I know I ranked them at 2. I think it's a toss-up between them, Dominican Republic, and USA. Honestly, it could go any way. I think they're even. So flip a coin, see what happens. Let's talk a little bit about how the brackets work. All right, so this is the bracket. All right, so to qualify, each pool sends their the 2 best records, and then tiebreakers are, I believe, runs scored and runs scored against. So Pool A will send their 2, B, C, and D, and then basically the second team from A, the second place team from A plays the first place, same from B, and then vice versa, and then it happens the same way on the other side. And then it's just a normal 1-game quarterfinal, semifinal, and the finals. So 3-game tournament after that. There should be, I think you play everyone once, so there's going to be a total of, if you win the whole thing, you play a total of 7 games, which is awesome. It's a quick tournament. It's only a couple weeks long, and it's electric. It's awesome competitive baseball right out of the gate, and we saw how competitive it's going to get yesterday when a bunch of the guys played the other teams in spring training. When I got Tommy John, I actually blew out my arm against Team USA. My bad. Struck out 2 guys with no UCL. I don't mean to brag, but it was pretty cool. Yeah, and then it really hurt after that. But anywho, enough about me. Back to the WBC. The tournament format. So we talked about that already. There are pitch limits, and a lot of people didn't know that, myself included, honestly. This is, well, not until very recently, but a pitcher cannot pitch more than 85 pitches per game in the qualifying round, 65 pitches per game in the first round, 80 pitches per game in the second round, and 95 pitches per game in the championship round. So everyone's saying, oh man, Terry Skubal's only gonna throw 55 pitches in the first round. I mean, you can only throw 65 in the quarterfinals. So they're here to protect you. But yeah, these are Little League rules outside of the 95 pitches. The most you can throw in a Little League World Series game is 85. Okay? Also, this tournament serves as a qualifier for the upcoming Olympics. This is how that format will work. There's 6 teams going. So odd to do a 6-team tournament, but here we are. If this doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense, honestly, it comes down to the same thing. There's 2 pools. They play each other. The top 2 teams move on. second place one, and then it just turns into, or no, all three teams move on. The bottom two, 2 versus 3, 2 versus 3, and then the number one gets a bye. And basically, if you win your pool, you only got to win a semifinal and then the finals. So that is how that's going to work. It'll be much faster of a tournament, but the qualifying will be done now in the WBC. The top 2 teams from the Americas, not including the United States, who automatically qualify as hosts, will earn a spot in the Olympic tournament. This means only 2 of the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Cuba, and Canada can qualify for the 2028 Olympics. Whoa. That is nuts. The other 3 spots will be determined in the next Premier 12, where the top team from Asia and Europe, Oceania, will qualify and qualifying tournament for the vaulting spot. So like, we'll have a Europe tournament, we'll have an Asia Pacific tournament. They will have one team going, and then for the rest of the teams, there will be a qualifying tournament that are outside of that, which is fascinating. So we've had some last-minute roster changes for the teams. Roman Anthony has taken over for Corbin Carroll after he hurt his hamate bone. And then Ryan Yarbrough has replaced Joe Ryan, who has some lower back inflammation. You got to get that taken care of before the season starts. So Team Korea has the Chunichi Dragons left-handed pitcher Yomateo. This is team, I'm pretty sure this is Japan, actually, Team Japan. Kanamari and is replacing Yuki Matsui, who strained his left groin. He is with the Padres. And then Chinese Taipei, Cheng Sung is replacing Cubs first base prospect Jonathan Long for his team. But other than that, just all the basic ones with the insurance and the injuries and stuff are still out. There were some cool highlights from the games that were played, the exhibitions that I mentioned before. The Dominican Republic took down the Tigers 12-4, surprising absolutely nobody. Juan Soto, Junior Caminero, and Manny Machado all hit long, big boy homers. The USA beat the Giants 15-1. Roman Anthony hit a ball to the moon. Alex Bregman hit the farthest homer he'd ever hit in his career. And they looked good, I'm going to say it. They looked pretty good. Adrian Hauser handled them pretty well, gave him a couple runs in the first, but man, is that a scary lineup to have to face. The Netherlands took down the Orioles. Cedane Rafaela went 2 for 4 with a double and a homer. Ozzy Albies hit a home run. Israel took down the Marlins 1-0 in a nail biter. Garrett Stubbs went 1 for 3. Robert Stock, our man Rob Stock, 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 3 Ks. And the W. Italy beat the Cubs 9-4. Great Britain beat the Brewers 7-3. Harry Ford 3 for 4 with a homer. He's gonna be a big deal for them. Mexico took down the Diamondbacks 6-3. Rowdy Tellez went 2 for 4. The Rowdy Tellez. It went 2 for 4 with a homer. And Puerto Rico took down the Red Sox 5-3 with Carlos Cortez going 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Really quickly running down the rest of them. Pirates beat Colombia 7-1. Yankees beat Panama 11-1. Blue Jays beat Canada 10-7. The Athletics beat Brazil 14-4. Royals beat Cuba 4-0. Mets beat Nicaragua 6-3, and the Astros beat Venezuela 3-1. So, what are the games to watch? Games to watch moving forward. Here's the ones I'm paying attention to in pool play, at least, that I'm the most excited to watch. Number 1, Korea versus Japan, Saturday, March 7th at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. 2 a.m. Pacific. I'm probably going to have to watch the replay of that one. Dang. Cuba versus Puerto Rico on Monday, March 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. I can catch that one. That sounds good. Mexico plays the United States on Monday, March 9th, and Paul Skeens will be starting for Team USA, and that will be a deciding game for how this pool is going to play out as well. It'll be on Fox. All of this is going to be available on Fox 1, so make sure you go check it out. That is March 9th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then finally, the Dominican Republic takes on Venezuela, which looks like it's going to be a potential slugfest at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, also on FS1. Make sure you check that out as well. I, for one, am very excited about the WBC. I know that some people are a little bit lukewarm on it. I don't know. I think it's just a great way to get some high-octane competitive baseball right at the gate, especially when you get to that Final Four, because there's a lot of pride on the line, and some guys are really getting into it. And I don't know, whenever we can get that feeling earlier and we don't have to wait till October to do it, I'm a big fan of it, and it's going to be fun to watch. I just hope everyone stays healthy so that we can watch you play for the rest of the season. But that is our coverage of the WBC. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, what you're most excited about, who you're most excited to watch play. Okay, now moving into our final subject of the day. Let me make an adjustment here. Boop, thank you so much. Got to automate that for later. In our final segment, our final story of the day, Maysplaining. We have some new statistics, and I'm excited to talk about them. Sorry, guys, put your nerd glasses on, get your calculators out. We're about to talk about some stats. My editor's gonna throw some like super hype music in there. Stats. So every single year there's some new stats that come out. I am a stats nerd. I talk to a lot of other stats nerds. I love analytics. I love anything that can tell me a story that maybe I can't see with my eyes or it's harder to parse out just by watching. So what I want to talk about today is a couple new statistical things that I'm going to be paying attention to, and then if you watch this show that you are going to be paying attention to as well, whether you like it to or not. So let's talk a little bit about the fun new stats. Number one, first bucket of stats, the ABS now has a Savant page. Yes, you will be able to keep track of what calls are right, what calls are wrong, who's getting them right, who's getting them wrong, and who's good at it and who ain't. Okay, there's some really interesting insights about this. First of all, it just looks really nice, so let's just give some props for the designer here of making this very digestible. I like the colors, they're very pleasing. And shout out to Mike Petriello with Savant and Major League Baseball in steering this ship. Mike's a friend of mine. He did Sunday Night Baseball with me on ESPN2, and he works very hard on this stuff, so I just want to give him credit. But this is interesting. This is the first thing that pops up when you go on there. It gives you like the day breakdown. Overall, how many were overturned for batters and for fielders. Then it combines them into a thing. There's some interesting insights we're already getting from spring training that are actually opposite of the way that I thought they would be. And I wouldn't have known that had this happened. So these are very cool for sure. This thing's cool, but like, you know what? This is cool for checking in and be like, how was it done today? Doesn't really give you anything to do. If I were a player or if I were even an organization, how would I use this stuff? Because you can organize it in all kinds of different ways. They got a bunch of tools. You should go check it out. It's baseballsavant.com/ABS. So if you want to check it out yourself, you can. baseballsavant.mlb.com/ABS. Check it out if you want. But we have a bunch of different tools. We have this one. It also shows the overturn breakdown, which I think is cool. This is just like in different situations when they're overturned or when they're not. One thing's gonna be really cool is like when the bases are loaded, when the full count, when there's only one challenge left, like all that stuff is gonna be really important to get it right. It changes how the importance of the challenge, and it's gonna be really cool to see how these numbers change over time. So one thing, the cool thing is like the loaded thing, right? 75% of the fielder ones are getting overturned when the bases are loaded. That means catchers are that's a big deal. That's a big deal. That means catchers are really doing a solid for their pitchers. That could change, especially for a reliever, that could change the profile of that outing. Those runs could score, double next pitch, double now they all score. That could change their season. That could be a season killer. So we're going to be able to tell those things now, which is I think is really cool. We also have the breakdown versus like how many you overturned versus how much were overturned against you. Obviously you want to have more overturned than the other team has, so we'll be able to track this over time. I think this is a cool looking thing too. Again, not a lot to do with this, but you can tell what teams are going for it and what teams aren't, which is also fascinating, or what teams are just getting pummeled by them. If you're a team that just never goes for it, but you're constantly getting overturned against you, you are leaving value on, like you're leaving something on the table and you got to start using that. So we're going to see teams adjusting based on these numbers. This is all an interesting test case. And then there's like a full leaderboard system where there's a bunch of filters, cool stuff. We have like overturns versus expected, like net for. There's a bunch of like expected numbers, like what you should have done, like basically where it was, where it wasn't. There's also like it's balanced based on like people are not challenging things that they should when they have challenges. Those are left on the table, like missed challenge opportunities. All of this stuff is important. All of this stuff is going to meaningfully affect games, and I'm excited to figure out how to find those things out. So if I'm an organization, I'm like, okay, how many are we missing when we could be hitting them, and how do we understand where those are, and what's the problem? Why aren't we able to do them? Are we not giving enough guys enough leash to do it? Are some guys having too much leash? We've already seen right out of the gate the teams that have all the leash in the world, and the teams who are just like not even really doing anything, which some of my favorite insights I've seen so far. So now take this with a grain of salt. These numbers are from Monday when I did this analysis. Some more stuff has happened, so these numbers might not be exact, but like the trends are interesting, okay? So number one, there was no catcher with more than 4 challenges, and there were a lot. There were like 10 catchers who challenged more than 4 times, but not a single one of them got them all right. None of them, which was interesting. Victor Carantini and Hunter Goodman were the 2 with 8, and Carantini got 6 of 8. Hunter was 4 for 8. He only got half of them right. Catchers are supposed to be the ones good at this. So that was really surprising. I thought catchers would have this. Like, it would be just intuitive for them. And it's kind of shaken out to not be, so far anyway. We're early, but so far. Batters have generally seen, this number 2, batters have generally seen way more success. Like, the batters have a much higher rate of being right than the pitchers and catchers right now. What? So that's interesting to me. It's telling me that these guys who've been receiving so well and gotten really good at it, they're starting to fool themselves, which is fascinating. And that's showing up in numbers. So like pitchers like, I don't know, and catchers like, I know. Boom, I totally stole that one. And they're like, no, you didn't. They're like, maybe I'm not as good at this as I think I am. Maybe these aren't actually strikes. That is something I was not expecting to happen, and it seems like it's happening, at least in the numbers. We also see the teams that are just kind of putting the foot on the gas and running. That is the Yankees and the Twins. The Yankees had 38 challenges at this point. The Twins had 36, and they were ahead of everybody by a lot. The Orioles were the lowest at 12 at this point. So the Yankees had almost over 3 times as many challenges up until that point than the Orioles had. And they were just, there's pitchers throwing them left and right. Everyone's doing it. Even when the catcher's like, don't do it, the pitcher's like, nah, I'm going to do it. And they were pretty successful at times. They're about 50% all the way across. And it looks like Aaron Boone's like, hey guys, just hit your helmet to your heart's content, and we'll see what happens. The Twins seem to be doing that as well. They want to get information. I think they're trying to get information on who they can let do what so they can maximize it. And then there's teams that are super slow paying it. I noticed that the teams that tend to be younger, the A's, for example, didn't do a ton of it, tend to not be as confident in it. So we're going to see how these teams adjust, because younger teams might have a very big disadvantage, more of a disadvantage now with the ABS system. And that's also showing up in the numbers. So those 3 things were just fascinating to watch. Okay. But one thing that's missing that I'm not super pumped about, but I'm working on building myself, is the umpires and how they're handling it. What umpires are getting challenged and overturned the most, the least, who's doing the best job. It's going to be part of their scorecards. That's going to be fascinating. I hope we get that data at some point, but as far as I know, I wasn't able to sort for the umpires. I also could have missed it and be just talking out of my butt right now. Who knows? Okay, so the interesting ways I think teams can use it, players can use it, it'll be very clear who the best catchers, pitchers, and hitters are quickly. So they can identify their best people at it and give them the power to do it, and that'll increase your ability to get those right. This will be shown very quickly, okay? 2, they will be better, we will be better be able to see how consequential ball strikes, misses will be on the game-to-game basis. So now we're gonna be able to see where the value is, like what counts are the big ones, what calls getting reversed are changing the outlooks of games as we move forward. That's gonna be really fun. That's gonna be cool to part of the narrative. Though someone did point out that if anyone has a challenge and there's a strike 3 call looking to end a game, there's automatically going to be an ABS challenge to it every time. And in a big strikeout moment or something, it could really take away from the excitement there. Hope that doesn't happen very often, but it could. And number 3, we can see more value for catchers than we already saw before. That's been a big thing for me. We gotta know how to value catchers. I've always just wondered how we can value them. And I think that we saw it with Cal Raleigh last year with the MVP race. Maybe this will add to his ability to show his value as well. And same thing for hitters, being able to know the zone. Like we have chase rates and all this stuff for discipline. Now we have this. This will add to that. And the last thing, we can now theoretically predict how many runs a pitcher can save themselves based on accurate calls. So like a pitcher, I'm thinking about relievers here, might be able to get out of an inning that wouldn't have been able to get out of before because there was a missed call. It happened to me more than once in my career. It's going to happen to somebody this year, and maybe that could prevent that from happening. If it happened one time, I'll say it's worth it. So those are the things I'm super excited about for the ABS system. But there is one last thing that I'm going to run through for you, and this is brand new, and this is from us here at Mayday. I'm going to introduce some custom stats that I'm going to be using this year on Mayday to tell two very distinct stories and show you my custom graphics that I'm able to make as well here. So prepare yourself. I'm about to introduce you to something that I've been working on for a while and that you may most likely hate. But the two stories I want to talk about are how pitchers command and how deceptive pitchers are, and here's the way that I do it. I hope you're sitting down, because you better sit down. Let me give you a quick rundown of these stats. This is some nerd stuff, but I hope you enjoy it, okay? This is how I determine command, and these are my top fives. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of it. This is, on the left, we have brink. In the middle, we have cluster. And on the right, we have misfire. Those three statistics are, brink is like edge or paint. I did a video on Yoshi Yamamoto last year on how good he was with his paint score. And what that measures is the average distance a pitch is away from the edge of the strike zone. Meaning, if you are always touching the lines all the way around, the chances that you get hit hard are almost zero, and the chances you get called strikes are very high, especially with the ABS. So brink is going to become very important. Positive numbers inside the strike zone, a negative number is outside. But if it's like 0.1, that means the ball's touching the edge, which is a good thing. That means these are all strikes. These are all strikes. Okay? So, as you can see, Tyler Rogers had the best brink of everybody last year. Robleski had a really good one. Brandon Woodruff had really good command. Morihone and Brian King, all these guys, great brink scores. Cluster on the right is the average inches away from the center of a cluster. So if you throw a fastball, wherever the center is all your fastballs, the average distance from that center. So how tightly are all your misses together? That tells me how repeatable you are with hitting your spots. All of these numbers, under a foot is really good. It's a foot seems like a lot. It's not. It's really good, especially because fastballs are in here and spots are going to change for fastballs. So this number is going to be generally high. Just know that 12 inches in this context is very good. And then on the far right, we have misfire. This is the average inches that when the ball is outside the strike zone, it misses the strike zone. 6.6 inches is very good. When he throws balls, on average, they're 6 inches outside. That means he is close to the zone and on the edges more often than not, which is going to put you in a position to be successful. This isn't a great indicator of everything, but these three metrics are all bespoke. I made them myself, and they are factored in when we're talking about command. Then, you got to have plus stats. You guys know all about pitching plus and stuff plus. Well, I have command plus and RP command plus, okay? So command plus is basically the three numbers we just talked about all put together into a plus number, and where 100 is average, the highest command on average was Nick Mears with 106. And then the one over here is how much their command is going to affect their success. So how much, it tries to take stuff out of the equation and puts in their ability to command the ball as a function of them being successful. So if this number is a little bit lower, that means they're a little unlucky. So we have Louis Varland and David Bednar, both a little bit unlucky from time to time, but for the most part, commanding the strike zone very well, not making a lot of mistakes in the middle of the strike zone. These five were the top five from last year. A lot of them relievers. I put the pitch count that you need to throw is really low. So that's why you see it's going to be a lot of relievers because they don't throw as many pitches. So just so you know, it's all relievers for that reason. All right. Those are my command stats. You're going to see the stuff like this on the show, and we'll talk more about it. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look under the hood, if you will. And then finally, we have deception. And boy, is this a doozy. I worked really hard on this. Here we go. These three deception numbers are my babies. We have deception, we have deception, X deception, and we have plus. I hope you have your calculators because I'm going to try to explain these. Deception is basically, there's two buckets of statistics, four in each one that explains everything up to ball release, and one explains everything how the ball moves. And basically what you want is how everything that builds up to the ball release how it is different than everything that happens after the ball's released. So basically you want what you look like you're going to throw like be completely different than what you actually throw like. That is what deception measures. And you have to set parameters, little ranges that move for what you expect. A hitter sees you moving, they expect the ball to move in a certain way, and then deception is when that ball does not move the way they expect it to, and there's a lot of ways to do that, and this tries to factor that in. So, X deception, basically what it does is it adds in the ability to get swings and misses. So it predicts whether or not your deception will help you get chase and get swing and miss, and that lines up pretty well with the guys on this list, with the exception of Jacob Mizorowski, whose pitches don't move a ton, so he doesn't get as much chase, and that's why that number is a little lower. Even though that is good, it is not as high. And then finally, we have unique, and that is how weird your pitches look comparatively to how you throw. So the weirdest pitch in the major leagues, at least in the fastball wise, is Josh Hader. He throws a riding sinker. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense. It's what we call a unicorn, and unique is used to explain that. So like Chapman has some interesting ones, and Brent Suter definitely has some interesting ones. So basically what this says is all of these guys get more swings and misses than they should because they are deceptive. So these are things, I'm gonna talk about these a lot, but let me just give me a quick reason why these guys are in the top two. This guy, Aroldis Chapman, he is the #1 most deceptive guy on this list because one, he throws really hard and he has long extension, so the pitch looks even harder than it is. His arm angle changes wildly based on which pitch he throws, and he releases from a bunch of different angles. When you do those things together and you throw that hard, it's chaos, breeds. It's really hard to follow along with what he's doing, and that is why he is still so dominant. That's why hitters look uncomfortable, because one, he was wild early in his career too, that helps. But like now that he's not wild, he's still getting those same effects. So he is basically deceptive via chaos. Alternatively, Kenley Jensen's #2. He is deceptive because he's so consistent, and every single one of his pitches tunnels really well off of each other. This number takes both of those things into account. So because he throws the cutter and the slider and the two seam and then the curveball and they all look the same for a really long time, and he throws out of almost exactly the slot every single time, he tunnels really well. And because he tunnels really well, he's super deceptive. And that's where they're #2. And it just so happens that the top 2 deceptive guys in 2025 have 775 saves combined. And that is the stuff I'm looking for. Now, have you ever wondered, why does Brent Suter get so many swings and misses because he's throwing 87? That's why. That and that. Those 2 numbers, he throws pitches that don't move the way they look like. When he throws it, you're like, that shouldn't move like that, and then it does. And he's good at doing that, and he's good at doing it consistently, and that's why he's deceptive. And those are my 2 analytics. If you are interested in learning more about these things, it's a secret. I'm not going to tell you more. No, they're going to be on the show more. All of this is to find guys that can break out. It's all to find guys that are providing value that's not super immediately quantifiable or noticeable. But in reality, I just love that I can find guys, figure out the story of why they're successful when it's just like, it's not velocity and it's not just dominance. Then what is it? Where is it coming from? And this gives me, I think, better ways to find those things than the stuff we already had. And that's my goal. I want to tell the cool stories about the cool guys that potentially could be really good coming up or have been really good, and it's inexplicable of why. And this is a great example. Look at Bailey Ober. We all know about how high Bailey Ober's swing and miss is for how hard he throws and the way he throws. It's almost like he throws invisible. Well, he's pretty deceptive when he's not throwing the ball right down the middle. Because at the end of the day, no matter how deceptive you are, if the pitch is right down the middle a lot, you're going to get it hard. So that is king. But this is just a fun little group of stats. And let me know in the comments other stuff you want to know about it or whatever. I'm going to be using this stuff quite a bit in all the stuff I do. But with all that said, that is the end of our Mayday show. We went a little over today, and I hope that's okay. But I'm interested. I'm interested to do it. I'm interested to see what you guys think. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. I will be seeing you next week right here on Foul Territory for another episode of Mayday. I just want to thank a few people before we get out of here. Producers David Korn, Henry Neiman. Thank you guys for helping me write the show. David Foley, Aaron Demet, Emily Sharbaugh, and Ethan Jones. Thank you guys for all of your editing work and creative work. Wouldn't be here without you. Emily, Jude, thank you so much for all of the communication stuff you've been doing for us too, keeping me in contact with everyone I need to. And as always, don't forget to slow down, drink your baseball, drink your baseball, drink your water, watch your baseball, or drink your baseball if you want. And I'll see you next week, or actually I'll see you on Friday on Trevor May Baseball, or next week on Wednesday here on Foul Territory for some more baseball news and hopefully some interesting stories that you enjoy watching. With that, have a good one, and I will see you very, very soon. Have a great day.